Well, buckle up, buttercups, because it seems the tariff roller coaster is back in town, and guess who's operating the controls with the subtlety of a rampaging bull in a china shop? Yes, it's him. On May 23, 2025, former president and current headline generator Donald Trump dropped a bomb on Truth Social. A 50% tariff on all European Union imports, set to kick in on June 1st, 2025. That's right, June 1st. Because apparently, long, thoughtful negotiations are for losers, and snap tariffs are the new black. This isn't just a policy shift, it's economic whiplash administered via social media. It's the kind of announcement that makes economists spill their morning coffee all over their spreadsheets. So why this sudden urge to slap Europe with a giant financial penalty? According to the man himself, it's because trade talks with the EU are, and I quote, going nowhere. He also dusted off that old favorite, claiming the EU has been taking advantage of the good old US of A. It's a classic narrative, really. Think of it as his greatest hits album, but instead of catchy tunes, you get potentially devastating trade disputes. He's also reportedly quite miffed about the EU's value-added tax, a complex system he probably understands about, as well as I understand the offside rule in soccer. It's less about intricate trade policy and more about, they're not playing nice, so I'm taking my ball and whacking them with it. Now, if you're experiencing a strange sense of déjà vu, don't worry, you're not alone. This isn't Trump's first tariff rodeo. Oh no. Cast your minds back to the thrilling days of April 2025. The US imposed a 20% reciprocal tariff on most EU goods. Then, poof. It was halved a week later, supposedly to allow for more talks. Even before that, there was a theatrical threat of a 39% tariff, which also conveniently got scaled back. It's a pattern, you see. A rather alarming, economically jittery pattern of threats, partial walkbacks, and general chaos. It's like watching a toddler play with very expensive, very fragile global supply chains. And just to add a little spice to this tariff goulash, Trump has been contrasting his EU stance with recent developments concerning China. Remember those sky-high 145% tariffs on Chinese goods? They were dramatically cut to 30% after some constructive talks, with China also lowering its retaliatory tariffs. Now Trump is hinting that the EU might face even higher tariffs than China. It's a bizarre strategy, almost like he's trying to use China as a model student to shame the EU. Look how nicely China plays the tariff game now. This isn't just about numbers, it's about sending a message, a very loud, very orange message that he's the one calling the shots, even if those shots risk blowing holes in everyone's economies. So how did the sophisticated capitals of Europe react to this transatlantic tariff tantrum? Well, stock markets immediately did their best impression of a fainting goat. The German DAX and French CAC 40 indexes both tumbled by around 1.7%. The broader Stock 600 index wasn't far behind, dropping nearly 1% to 1.7%. Luxury goods giants like LVMH and Hermes saw their shares dip because apparently rich people also get nervous about trade wars. Car makers, a prime target, felt the heat too, with BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Stellantis all seeing their stock prices skid. It was a clear financial thumbs down to the whole affair. But don't think for a second that the European Union is just going to sit there and politely accept this. Oh no. Maros Sefcovic, the European Commission's trade chief, has made it clear. While the EU would much rather talk things out over a nice, calm cup of tea, or perhaps a strong espresso, they are absolutely preparing for all scenarios. And by all scenarios, he means they have a list. A rather long list, reportedly detailing over $100 billion worth of possible retaliatory tariffs on US goods. So if Trump wants to play hardball, the EU is signaling it's got its own bat, and it's not afraid to swing it. Of course, getting 27 member states to agree on anything is famously like herding cats, or perhaps like trying to assemble IKEA furniture after too much wine. So, you have different voices emerging. Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul is still emphasizing the need for dialogue and preserving market access. Meanwhile, Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof stated he expects a calm and robust response from the EU, which sounds like a wonderfully diplomatic way of saying, we're cross, but we'll be adult about it, mostly. Then you have critics like German economist Marcel Fratscher, who basically threw his hands up and called the EU's current strategy a failure. It's a European chorus of concern with varying degrees of panic and defiance. And the irony? Just a day before Trump's digital proclamation of tariff war on May 22nd, the EU had actually laid out a fresh trade proposal. They were offering phased tariff cuts on non-sensitive goods, cooperation on exciting things like energy, AI, and digital infrastructure. They even sweetened the pot by offering to extend a 2020 tariff-free arrangement on U.S. lobster imports. Yes, lobster. It was a clear attempt to find common ground. Trump's response to this peace offering? A 50% tariff sledgehammer. It's like offering someone an olive branch and they use it to poke you in the eye. Now, let's talk about the fallout. Who actually ends up paying for these grand tariff gestures? Surprise, surprise, it's often the businesses and consumers in the country imposing them. Austin Goolsbee, the president of the Chicago Federal Reserve, has already voiced his concerns. He's worried about the impact on the supply chain, especially in the American Midwest. Slapping massive taxes on goods coming into the country doesn't magically make America richer. It often just makes things more expensive for everyone and throws a wrench into complex global production lines. It's basic economics, but basic economics often gets lost in a good political shouting match. And what about the other side of the Atlantic? Well, European economists are not exactly throwing parties. Holger Schmieding, chief economist at Berenberg, described Trump's move as a major escalation that would inevitably hurt both the US and European economies. He's not wrong. The CEO of Volvo Cars, Håkan Samuelsson, pointed out that their EX30 electric vehicles made in Belgium would likely become more expensive for American buyers, leading to lower sales. So, fewer choices for consumers, higher prices, and struggling businesses. It's a lose-lose proposition, gift-wrapped in populist rhetoric. To understand the scale of this, let's peek at some trade figures from 2024. The US exported over $350 billion in goods and $238 billion in services to the EU. In return, the US imported over $550 billion in goods and $170 billion in services from the EU. We're talking about nearly $1 trillion in two-way goods trade alone. The EU's top exports to the US included over $90 billion in pharmaceutical products and over $45 billion in vehicles and automotive products. These are precisely the sectors that will feel the immediate sting of a 50% tariff. It's like taking a wrecking ball to a significant portion of your import-export business. And if you think this tariff tornado is only aimed at Europe, think again. Mr. Trump also threatened a hefty 25% tariff on Apple products unless iPhones are manufactured in the US. He's extended similar demands to other smartphone makers like Samsung. It's a global tariff offensive. He seems to believe that tariffs are a magic wand that can bend global corporations to his will, irrespective of economic realities or complex supply chains. It's less a coherent trade strategy and more like a game of whack-a-mole where every mole is a major trading partner, and the mallet is a massive import tax. So, with Trump's tariff ultimatum on the table and the June 1st deadline looming large, remember, today is May 23, 2025, so that's barely a week. The European Union is officially in the hot seat. This isn't a situation where they can form a committee to discuss the possibility of maybe considering a response at some future date. The clock is ticking, and the stakes are incredibly high. This calls for swift, decisive action, or at least a very, very convincing plan. The pressure is immense, enough to make even the most seasoned diplomats sweat through their perfectly tailored suit. The EU, to its credit, insists it's not caught completely off guard. They've been down this road before, notably with the U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum. That list of over $100 billion in potential retaliatory tariffs, it's been carefully curated and is ready to be deployed. They know how to play this game. However, a blanket 50% tariff is a significant escalation from previous spats. It's the difference between a sternly worded letter and a declaration of all-out economic warfare. The EU needs to decide whether to meet fire with fire or find an off-ramp from this collision course. But this whole saga is about much more than just cars, cheese, or even lobsters. It's about the fundamental principles of international trade and cooperation. For decades, the world has operated, however imperfectly, on a system of rules, agreements, and negotiations. If one powerful leader can unilaterally tear up those rules and impose crippling tariffs based on personal pique or political calculation, what does that mean for global economic stability? It creates a climate of uncertainty and distrust, making it harder for businesses to plan, invest, and create jobs. It's like trying to play a complex board game when one player keeps flipping the board over. What are the EU's options now? They could, of course, unleash their own barrage of retaliatory tariffs, plunging both economies into a costly trade war. They could make a last-ditch effort at negotiation, perhaps sweetening that lobster deal even further, though that might feel like rewarding bad behavior. Or they could try to rally other global partners to present a united front against unilateral protectionism. Whatever path Brussels chooses, the consequences will be far-reaching. The world is watching, not just the economists, but everyone whose job or cost of living could be affected. So grab your popcorn, because this high-stakes trade drama is definitely not over.